Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time. This is a busy time for you, Hilary. What's going on in your world right now?
A lot's going on. We launched a professional women's hockey league, and we have 6 teams right now, and we're full in the swing of the schedule. We're playing, I think puck drop was 1st of January, and we're going all the way through, the start of June.
This is such an exciting league, the PWHL. I feel like it's been a long time coming, but it came together so quickly. How is this league so different and so important for this moment in women's hockey?
Yeah, I mean, we've never had a professional place to play. I think in years past, the closest we could really describe it is semi-pro, although we did give it the professional, title. But it's just awesome to be able to come to the rink every single day and show up and get better as a hockey player and not have to work other jobs and have our focuses kind of, on other things other than hockey. So it's fun. It's awesome for the players from just a playing standpoint, a competitive standpoint, but then also the fans. Like they know, Wednesday, Saturday, Monday, whatever day of the week it is, they know where to watch women's hockey, and it's the best collection of players in the world playing in one spot. So I think that's pretty special.
It's been really cool to see. I mean, obviously, the level of play and what you guys are doing on the ice is remarkable. But what's been super cool to see is the fans' response. I think that you're seeing a lot of fans grateful for something like this. And a lot of times in women's sports, there's the conversation of like, but who's going to go? And it's like,
Yeah,
no, they're there. They are there and they
always.
are eager. What is it
Yeah.
like to look up from the ice and to see the signs? Girls are players too, or like finally to see that reception.
Well, first off, we always knew how good we were, right? And we always knew we would have a handful of fans, but there's so many people that want to say, we don't know if people are going to show up, right? And so to have this thing come full circle, it's pretty incredible. I mean, that's why I don't even have a voice right now. I'm like screaming like all the time. It's such a fun atmosphere and environment. And it sounds cliche, but if she can see it, she can be it, right? And so to see all those young faces in the crowd and know that, a handful of them are going to be fulfilling our skates, in years time. So it's just really cool to have consistent programming and visibility for this game and for this game at this level.
It's so fun. I had so many women reach out to me after the first game here in Lowell in Boston
Yeah.
and be like, my daughter, I took her whole team. And
Yeah.
that was so cool to hear. And you were one of those girls once upon a time, right? Like you had this dream. What was it? Were you 5 years old and you said to your grandma, I want to play hockey. I want to go to the
Yeah.
Olympics.
So like I want to go to the Olympics before women's hockey was even in the Olympics. But it's just because I was a hockey player. Like it didn't necessarily matter, boys, girls, whatever. I just wanted to be at this level. And as you get older, to see that the opportunities on the girls' side and the growth of the women's game, it's just tremendous. And so I'm glad that we're finally here. Obviously, I wish it would have, this is a league I would have been able to step into right after graduating college, but the timing didn't necessarily work out that way. But how fortunate are we to have, amazing shoulders that we can build upon to empower us to go out there and carve a better future for the game. So I'm really, it's magical. It's a magical moment that we can actually have a puck drop this year, and we're playing games right now, and to see where we've come from and where we're going to go, it's pretty incredible.
What has kept you so steadfast in this journey from that 5 year old through now? I mean, there's, the ups and the downs that come with that, like anything in life, right? But there's a
Yeah.
passion that you have for this sport. What is it? What is that?
I mean, I love the game. It's extremely humbling, right? You think you've mastered one part of it, and there's another part that just hits you right in the face and knocks you on your butt, right? But no, it's part of that, and just always being a student and learning and growing and being sort of fascinated by the game. And then also just, it's a team sport, and there's just something so powerful about that, being in the room with other amazing women from different backgrounds and working towards a common goal. It's really truly a dream job, so to speak. But that's what keeps me coming back, is obviously trophies and the room and just wanting to continue to fall in love with the game that I first fell in love with when I was 5.
You are like an icon in sport. You are the greatest goal scorer in women's hockey. You're 9-time world champion. You've gone to 4 Olympic games. What has each of those experiences taught? I know that's a big question, right? What have you learned from each of those, going to the elite level, that the highest level? What are lessons that you've learned at that spot?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me, it's you look at teams that were successful, that were unsuccessful, and really it just matters the type of character you have in the room. And it's pretty incredible to be in a room full of amazing individuals, as I just said. But I think if anything's taught me sort of, what normal life looks like, it's kind of crazy because we all show up every single day with this amazingly competitive mindset to try and get better. And so I think just through that, it's just you have touch points with people that are so empowering and you can feed off that energy. But yeah, I think it's definitely taught me a lot of life lessons on, how to find success and what that looks like and what that journey looks like to successful endpoints.
Okay, so I wanted to like double tap into a few things that you said there. One is the competition, right? And the want to get better. And in the PWHL now, everyone knows the US Canada rivalry that comes with hockey, men's and women's. And you're playing alongside them as teammates now. And then come World Championships, then you come Olympics, you're going to be playing against each other. So talk about a little bit about that dynamic and what that's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's at first you're like, oh, like I don't really know. You really just see like a lot of country, and then you kind of get into the mix of things, and you start scrapping out there, and you start problem solving on the fly, and then you build that bond with just like your teammates, and it's not unsimilar to the guys. I think the only difference is we started with such like a staunch rivalry, right? And then we're now kind of narrowing into different clubs, but I think it's great how the different teams have, come together and meshed, and we're going to see sort of how that plays out as we get closer to June. But and in the same breath, make no mistake about it, when we're on the world stage, international stage, and we're back with our country, I mean, there's nothing like it. So you're going to get sort of the best of both worlds.
I love the smirk that you have on your face as you're like talking through
Yeah,
this.
I can't wait. I mean, like we have a rivalry coming up against Canada. We have 3 more games left of the rivalry series, and I'm itching to get back with our group just because it's a different style of hockey, which is it's just weird, right? Because you'd think like hockey is just hockey, but when you're playing with, you know, 22 other players who grew up playing the exact same style, it's a little bit different. And then now you're in a mix with a bunch of players who have come from different styles. So there's just challenges with both, and it's really fun. And I think, obviously representing your country on the world stage, I mean, it's pretty incredible as well.
Yeah, there's no way to prepare for it. And I'm sure it keeps you on your
Yeah,
toes. Which is
absolutely.
what makes it fun, right?
Yeah. The checking will be interesting, right? Because we're so physical right now in the pro league, and the international game's not that way. So it'll be interesting to see, what gets adapted to the international stage and what doesn't, and where those lines are. So I'm sort of curious to see how the game unfolds at this level.
It will be so fun to watch, and I'm sure fun to play too.
Yeah.
And you're back in Boston, and you kind of have a history here
Mhm.
in the city. When you found out that you were going to have the opportunity to come back here, what was that like for you?
Surreal. I mean, it's kind of, I know like Boston was sort of like the hotbed, right? Everyone wanted to be back in Boston. And so when the opportunity was there, I was like, oh my gosh, you have to take it. Just because it's such a phenomenal city, the history of the clubs, the different teams, obviously the legacy that we want to imprint on the city just from women's hockey standpoint. I mean, there's all these things that sort of align, and it just felt really right to be able to go back to the East Coast, that someplace I've spent, a good portion of my career after college. So it definitely feels like a second home to me, and I'm just really fortunate for this opportunity.
What did you miss most about Boston? Was there anything that you came back to that you were like, was it a restaurant, an activity, anything like that?
Honestly, I think it's just like the directness. Like I really like appreciate like people just say it how it is, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
And
for
you just
better or
kind
for
of go
worse,
about
they're
your
going to tell
day.
you what they think.
Yeah, yeah. And so, there's just a level of like love through that you feel. My parents are both from the East Coast originally, and so being in the Midwest, I was like, oh, it's not the same. I mean, everyone's really nice here, but no, I love just the feeling of being back out east and in the city of Boston and how passionate people are. I mean, it's just, when we can finally secure a win at home, we'll be trending in the right direction with our crowd. So that's super exciting.
But they won't waver. They won't waver regardless. Like
Exactly.
they are there. They are ready.
Die hard.
We've
Yeah.
been waiting for this. Like we have been
Yeah.
waiting for as you guys have too, right? And I want to circle back on something that you talk about, that the professionalism of the PWHL, and that's something that is so important for you guys because you are the best. Like you are the best of the best. Can you talk about the significance of having a CBA signed before going into the season and what that has allowed for you guys as athletes to perform at this level?
Yeah. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know any other league that started with a CBA negotiated before the start.
Yeah.
So that's just incredible right there. Just goes to show the belief that both sides of the party, the parts of the table had with one another to be able to make sure that our player treatment and the level of professionalism and the quality of professionalism was there, which to the league's credit has been there. Is that promise? So it's pretty it's really hard to put into words when you sit down and you're at the table trying to like claw and scratch and grab for things that both sides need, and then at the end of the day, everyone's agreed that like the level of professionalism has to be there for the players because that's the product that's on the ice. That's who the fans are showing up to see and whatnot. But yeah, I mean everything came from it. Any protection for the players. You want to talk about healthcare. Like we didn't have healthcare before. I mean, that's pretty substantial.
Which is mind blowing. I think that these are things that
Mind-blowing.
everyone assumes, like, yeah, it's their job.
Yeah.
You get healthcare.
Right. Yeah. So like, if you get an injury before, it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Figure it
But
out.
now we have now we have the support. I mean, we have the designated support staff, sort of the team behind the team that not everyone as a fan might necessarily see, but you live and die by those people that support you. And it's incredible when you really take a step back and think about how many people it takes to just have one successful player on the ice. You talk about, equipment managers. Like we didn't have full-time equipment people. We didn't have security. Things like pre-game, post-game meals, how you're getting fueled up, rehydrated. I mean, there's all sorts of things, let alone just consistent programming and protections on how we get to different cities and different markets and what off days look like and how long can a work day be. So all these things that are new for us have been great protection so far, and I'm really excited to see where this league continues to evolve as it moves forward.
And you mentioned earlier standing kind of on the backs and shoulders of those that came before, women that I think so many people are familiar with their names and have seen them play on the world stage. And you got an opportunity. I mean, 2010 was your first Olympics, 2014. Those were two heartbreaking years where the team was incredible. And those heartbreaking losses at the Olympics. How did you kind of stand on their shoulders to then mentor the 2018 team to come out and do what you did? Kind of like, I guess, like bridging that heartbreak, but also the confidence in what you were capable of.
Yeah, I think it was sort of a very delicate balance of, when we have a lot of turnover on the US side, and so when sort of maybe like half of the team is new, they don't have that Olympic experience, right? But it does provide us sort of that youthful energy. So it's sort of this delicate balance of how do you tap into that youthful energy, but give them the confidence that they've been there before. And so that was sort of a juggling act, so to speak, of, how do we really make sure that the focus is on the right things and that we have the right people in the room to to make sure that when you go out there, you're trusting anyone to the right or the left of you at any given time to do their exact job at the right moment at the same 60 minutes on the same day, right? So
That's a
it's all
lot
these
has to
crazy
go
things.
right.
Yeah. So taking our experience from 2014 and there was just silence or just like a vibe that just wasn't there towards the end. And to have a 2-goal lead, blow it with I think less than like 6 minutes left, and then you're walking by the platter of medals that they were supposed to hand out to you, and there's all these things that we could have been sharper on. And I think a lot of us that had that experience, it was great to take that heartbreak and carry it forward, but not have it imprinted so hard on the newer players or the younger players that were going to give us the energy to get the job done at the end of the day. So, I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but it's definitely a juggling act, and one that's extremely fine and delicate, but also very successful if you can do it right.
It takes leaders, and it takes all kinds of leaders to make that happen. And I know a lot of your teammates have spoken out about how great of a leader you are and how they've looked up to you for so long. And how do you describe your leadership style, and where did you develop that?
Just being around people and being in the game long enough and seeing a lot that you sort of have this like sage wisdom now, right? And you've seen so many things. And my biggest thing is I'm extremely laid back in terms of that. I want everyone to feel comfortable, because there are so many pressures nowadays, especially when you get to this level, that can just consume you and eat you alive individually as a player or collectively as a group. And so obviously you tackle things that need to be tackled when it's necessary, but at the end of the day, making sure everyone's comfortable to make sure that they can perform at their very best when that puck drops, and fulfill their roles when needed.
Okay, you said something there that you're very laid back, and I have to say that Megan Keller has said that you are the biggest prankster, and you're an
Yeah.
onion to peel back.
Yeah.
How has that helped you think the teams kind of create that chemistry? And who's your favorite person to prank?
Oh, my favorite person to prank is probably Hannah Brandt.
Watch
We
out, Hannah.
ended up. Yeah, we got her good with a name tag I forgot to take it off actually after warm-ups for one of our games, so that was on me. But yeah, I don't know. I think like pranks in a way, like if they're done lighthearted, can sort of break up the monotonous of like the travel or the routine that you kind of like sink into, and can give people a good laugh, and everyone's a really good sport in different ways. And obviously you have to be open to getting pranked right back yourself. So sort of sleep with one eye open, always looking over your shoulder. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like we signed up to play this sport, this game, because we loved it. And, a lot of things get thrown at players nowadays, and there's a lot of burdens that people have to carry or skate with. And so to kind of bring it back to that sort of childlike mind where, you remember why you signed up, and just love and embrace every single second of this day, because, once you sort of go on the other end and you can't skate anymore, I mean, it's over, right? So what a travesty it would be if you couldn't appreciate the great moments that you had together with amazing people.
Have you always had that perspective, or was that something that you learned as you went through the process and from someone above you?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're young, you're just like you're worried about your ice time and all the metrics, right, that go along with that, and you're worried about the next game. And so when you've had the opportunity, and I'm grateful I've had a number of opportunities to continue to come back, right, and realize that you keep coming back, and it provides a lot more perspective, and you grow older, and you're like, oh, like it doesn't matter the individual showing up, it matters the team showing up. And obviously the individual has to show up for the collection of the team, but at the end of the day, the team has to get it done. And so I think that's just something that I've learned along this journey. And obviously there's been more attention with the sport as well. And now with technology and social media, there's all sorts of different barriers and distractions and whatever you want to call it. And the Olympics in itself is a completely different beast. So it's just, how do you kind of manage that? And the best way that I've found success in doing that is just remembering you're just out there to play a hockey game, and not to minimize the significance of playing in, a gold medal game or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you just have to perform like you've learned how to perform for, decades of your life.
And you mentioned social media there. You've mentioned kind of the pressures and the weight that kind of comes with that. I think if she can see it, she can be it is a huge thing for young athletes. But it also adds a almost responsibility to you guys, knowing that there's all these young people looking up to you, and you have been vocal about your journey with body acceptance, but also coming out as a member of the LGBTQ community. So I'm curious why you wanted to speak publicly about those things, and if you felt it was a responsibility to do it, or if it was just something that you personally wanted to do.
Just like any human that walks this earth, you kind of go through your journey and your process. And obviously, from what I do as for my quote unquote job, or not who I am, but what I do, provides me a platform to be able to empower and have a significant and hopefully positive impact on many people's lives. And so as I'm going through something in my own personal life, and I feel confident in a way to provide visibility to that, or if I feel confident or at peace with opening up my personal life, I'm happy to do so if that has a helpful effect for anybody else. And whether that started on sort of my crazy journey of gaining 10 pounds and really coping with sort of the body image and sort of the femininity around strong and beauty and sort of what that's supposed to look like, and going through that process. And obviously using that to kind of work through, or coming out as a member of the queer community. I mean, these are all things that I went through my own personal journey and my own personal process, and found strength in different ways that, I hope I could be a great advocate and provide more visibility to people so they don't feel isolated, because we live in a world that we're so connected, but at the same time can feel so outnumbered and isolated in many ways. And I just came to the point where I just thought it was important. So that's how, I can come out with, different topics and things that I feel passionate about, is something that, I've experienced in my own life, and hopefully other people can, have great experiences.
Well, I think that you've done exactly that with it. I think you've empowered a lot of people, and you've helped a lot of people. And people look at you as this, you're one of the greatest humans to play hockey of all time. But I think the impact that you've had off the ice as well is something that will have a lasting legacy as well. And that's not easy to do.
Well, thank you.
So kudos to you for that. And like looking at this next generation of athletes, what is your hope for the future of women's hockey? You have blazed such a great trail for them to continue on, and you're not done yet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
No,
what do you hope for this next generation?
Yeah, I hope they take it and run with it,
Mhm.
right? Early on in this season, actually, one of my teammates, we were kind of talking about the start and how hard it was to get here. And one of my younger teams was like, I'm sorry. And I looked at her and I was like, don't be sorry. If anything, that could be the worst thing you are, sorry. And she was sort of saying, like, sorry that we had to sort of burden this thing to get it to where it is now, and not sort of see it in the prime of our careers necessarily. And as if anything, like, you got to take this and run with it. You have to be super confident that you are exactly where you are at the exact time and where you're supposed to be. And how beautiful of a thing is it to be able to finish your collegiate career and have a place to step into where you're playing the best hockey night in and night out. And you're going to have fan bases that are, laughing and cheering and crying with you at the ups, the downs, and all these crazy moments. And, it's really cool to sort of have this next generation be able to grab this thing and take it to new heights. And that's what I hope that people do for this game.
And so I also want to ask what it's like in Boston. I know we talked about the history here, and it's kind of coming home for you. You played a lot but as a sports city, have you felt the welcome from the sports community broadly here in Boston?
Absolutely. the sports community. I mean, just random people coming up to me on the street. I'm just, getting a sandwich or whatever. And they're like, oh, like, good luck. And I'm like, wait, what? So we're doing something right if people are coming up to you and, saying their thoughts on the game or, good luck for the next game. I mean, it's awesome. So I'm glad that the support just right from the start is there, and it's only going to continue to grow.
I love it. I love it. And also you talked about kind of working through things on your own and then sharing them with your, more broadly. Who is in your, I like to call them like your day ones, like your OGs, who's in that circle, your community that helps lift you up, whether hockey related or not, that you lean on to find the success. You talk about how it takes a whole team of people to make one athlete succeed. Who's on your
Yeah.
OG list?
Yeah, I won't like name them, but I have a sort of a small circle. I keep my circle pretty tight, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, you go through this journey and you realize like how important it is to have a loving group that surrounds you and supports you. Because as you said, like you don't get any success or where you are without the people that are supporting you. And that's one of like my biggest advices that, I would give to anybody, coming up is make sure you have a good support group because you need them. You're going to need them for the good times and the bad times. And it's so critical to have people you can lean on at all times.
I love that. I love that. And then my final question for you, Hilary, because I know you got a lot going on. You got to rest up and get back for Saturday. But
Yeah.
what is a mantra that you lean on hard days? Is there something, a motto, mantra?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm always about, pushing the envelope and sort of I use this my own personal mantra is dare to be, and I leave it open-ended, and because it's always trying to squeeze that 1% out of everything you do. And so it's like dare to be great. Am I doing that when I get to the rink? Am I doing that when I get in the weight room? What other facets of my life? And my dog walking, it's just like
Gotta be the best of the best for
yeah,
that pup.
yeah, just like you apply it to all areas of life. But yeah, I think yeah, that would probably be my mantra, and just the underlying of, trying to show up and get better every single day.
I love it. Well, Hilary, thank you so much. Congratulations on this first season, and we're excited for all that's to come for women's hockey.
Well, thank you very much.